Next on the news, surging prices and surging hunger. Food pantries on the brink this Thanksgiving.
This Thanksgiving, feeding the hungry is hitting a roadblock. I'm Jessica Easthope with what happens when the struggle to afford food is something the clients and the emergency food provider have in common.
Then a blow to faith-based agencies looking to place children in loving homes. The Supreme Court had ruled for the church, but now the White House turning the tables. How will it all shake out? And preparing for Bishop Brennan, the 8th Bishop of Brooklyn, just days away from installation. Words of advice from Pope Francis himself. Plus, 'tis the season to plunder. A gang of 80 thieves invading stores in California, and some might just get away with it. What's wrong with the system? I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. On Thursday, as we sit down to our Thanksgiving feast, we should remember that more than 1/4 of American families right now are struggling to put food on the table. And the same obstacles causing our neighbors troubles, the pandemic, supply chain issues, and inflation, have sent the food pantries they look to for help scrambling. But Currents News' Jessica Easthope takes us to one Catholic pantry that's fighting to meet the challenge because failure is not an option.
The mission is simple: feed the hungry. But the approach has become increasingly complex. Supply chain issues are causing food prices to soar, and not just for the people waiting in line at St. John's Bread and Life.
No turkey wings, we're in trouble.
With a week left before their big Thanksgiving meal Wednesday, the vendor they receive all their turkeys from said, "We can't fulfill the order."
It's a last-minute scramble, and it was expensive, but we really believe that we would never want people to go without.
They may do, because during the pandemic, Executive Director Sister Caroline Tweedy transformed the entire operation. She says keeping up with this level of food insecurity and doing more with less is the new normal.
We can't even remember the past. We flipped the script so quickly to really meet the needs in the community that seems like hundreds of years ago.
One of these bags of food used to cost a little over $1. Now they cost $1.60. And if you think that's a big jump, meat and dairy costs went up 10%. Bread and Life fed 6,000 people this week alone. And Sister Caroline says she's not willing to compromise on food quality.
If you keep people fed with good nutritional food, you're less likely to have, people going to the emergency room, people getting sick.
And the staff and volunteers who make this machine run aren't giving up. Many of the people bagging this food have been on the opposite side of that window.
They know what the struggle is for folks. They won't allow anyone to go hungry. Not on their turf anyway.
At the same time, Bread and Life struggles too, but they willingly take that risk because there's no other option. The hungry need to be fed. In Bedford-Stuyvesant, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Just a note, last year it cost Bread and Life $1 million to feed their clients. This year, that number is $2.6 million. So if you want to donate to St. John's Pantry and help in this food fight, just go to breadandlife.org. Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens is making sure struggling families have a turkey on the table this Thanksgiving. They've given out more than 3,000 birds already. People who came to the 3 distribution sites in Brooklyn and Queens last week each received a frozen turkey and a $50 food voucher so they can have a traditional holiday dinner. CCBQ also made free COVID shots available to anyone who wanted one. The storefront window at Nordstrom's in Los Angeles smashed to pieces as cops say several thieves broke in, stealing $5,000 worth of merchandise and creating $15,000 worth of damage. LA police are now stepping up patrols around high-end retailers, saying 'tis the season for smash and grab burglaries. It's been happening across the country over the past few weeks, and there may be a reason for that. You're looking at a smash and grab. This kind of thing has happened in several big cities recently. Groups of thieves ripping off upscale stores. On Monday, at least 18 people broke into that LA Nordstrom. In the San Francisco Bay Area on Sunday, a group of thieves swarmed a mall, smashing jewelry cases with hammers. East of the city on Saturday, a mob of some 80 people ransacked a Nordstrom there.
And like ski masks, crowbars, like a bunch of weapons. People had boxes, bags. Oh yeah, it was a crazy scene.
Other San Francisco stores got hit Friday, including Louis Vuitton, Burberry, Bloomingdale's, Walgreens, and cannabis dispensaries.
There are groups of people coming to target communities. We will be prepared to address it.
In suburban Chicago last week, 14 people barged into a Louis Vuitton store. Police say 8 people hit this Louis Vuitton, also in Chicago, last month. Multiple cases, one big question: what is going on? Security experts say there could be a number of issues at play. There's the law enforcement component. These kinds of crimes aren't always a priority, and thieves may face few consequences. Then there's the timing. Stores stock up for holidays. More merchandise means more opportunity. And experts say once something is stolen, there are several ways to easily sell it.
We've allowed criminal networks to create a business model selling stolen goods online, and that is what's put this problem on steroids.
Some say another reason this could be happening, at least in California, is that back in 2014, voters passed a proposition that made nonviolent thefts misdemeanors, as long as the stolen items are worth less than $950. Turning now to a big blow in the ongoing fight over families between the White House and Catholic child welfare agencies. The Department of Health and Human Services has rescinded a Trump-era rule that ensured faith-based social service agencies would continue to receive federal funding for providing services that followed their religious beliefs. The new decision takes away waivers from AHHS that allowed agencies in South Carolina, Texas, and Michigan to refrain from placing children with same-sex couples because of their religious beliefs. The biggest question mark coming from that decision, how it'll affect a similar case already decided by the Supreme Court. The justices ruled in favor of a Catholic social service agency, which was following church teaching when it said it should not be excluded from Philadelphia's foster care program just because it does not accept same-sex couples as foster parents. Just recently, the city of Philadelphia agreed to pay Catholic Social Services a $2 million settlement. They will also be reinstated in their foster care contract as long as the agency states on its website that while they don't work with same-sex couples, they will refer them to an organization that does. With less than a day of deliberation, the jury in the trial of the 3 men accused of murdering Ahmaud Arbery reached a verdict, and it was a sweep. All 3 men are guilty. Travis McMichael, his father Gregory McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan Jr., who are white, had claimed self-defense after they chased Arbery, who was black, through a Georgia neighborhood in pickup trucks, confronted him with guns, attempted to make a citizen's arrest, then shot and killed him. The jury didn't buy it. The 3 men each now face a maximum life sentence. For the first time, we're seeing footage of the suspect accused of Wisconsin's Christmas parade carnage caught on a doorbell camera moments before his arrest.
I called an Uber, and I'm supposed to be waiting for it over here, but I don't know when it's coming. Can you call it for me, please?
The footage shows Daryl Brooks pleading for help outside of a home. Shortly after, police can be seen pulling up and then telling Brooks to put his hands up. Brooks has since been charged with 5 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. According to court documents, bail has been set at $5 million cash. And if he's convicted on all counts, Brooks faces 5 consecutive life sentences. However, that may change. Prosecutors are considering a 6th homicide charge after a critically injured child passed away. That child has been identified on a GoFundMe page as 8-year-old Jackson Sparks. He and his 12-year-old brother Tucker were 2 of 18 children admitted to Wisconsin Children's Hospital following Sunday's tragic incident. Jackson underwent brain surgery that evening but succumbed to his injuries Tuesday afternoon. His parents have asked for privacy to allow for Tucker's recovery and for time to mourn the loss of Jackson. And on a bittersweet note, it was the final act of love from one of the victims killed in Waukesha Sunday. Jane Coolidge, whom relatives describe as a Christmas-loving mother who attended church regularly, is embracing the spirit of her favorite holiday and is donating her organs to help save the lives of some of the surviving victims. Jane leaves behind her husband as well as 3 children and 3 grandchildren. As we get ready to celebrate Thanksgiving, one woman in Queens has been saying thank you for years to the men and women who wear the shield. As Jessica Easthope reports, despite some who criticize the NYPD, or maybe because of them, She's determined to let them know they're appreciated.
Dear officer, thank you for your service in the NYPD.
All the letters read the same, but for Coretta James, every police officer's individual dedication deserves a thank you.
I saw the tough job that they have, and I just wanted to, encourage them to let them know that, that not everybody's against them.
Since 2017, James has been on a mission to handwrite a thank you card to every single officer in the NYPD. So far, she's delivered 4,000, and with every stroke of her pen, each officer that gets one knows there's someone out there rooting for them.
They put on that uniform to serve us. I don't take that for granted.
James, who came to the United States from Antigua at 16, never seals the envelopes. She adds in the name of every officer when she gets to a precinct, and she says the personal touch makes all the difference.
They tell me, I'm going to put this in my locker so I could always look at it. It's rewarding.
There wasn't one specific event that sparked her passion, but James says with recent racial tension across the country, police officers have become the target. More than 5,300 NYPD officers retired or resigned in 2020. That's up 75% from 2019. And though James acknowledges there are cops that don't always do the right thing, she's not letting that stop her. Another way in which James says the good far outweighs the bad: the responses she's gotten from the public, especially as a person of color. She's had people send her threats, even wishing her carpal tunnel.
If I could tick off that many people, I'm on the right side and I'm not changing sides.
James has a long way to go before all 36,000 NYPD officers get a thank you. She says her faith has allowed her to not just feel compassion toward these members of service, but to act on it. Each letter ends with words she believes with all her heart.
Grateful for your service, Coretta James. You are appreciated.
In St. Albans, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
What a great story. There's a lot more news headed your way. Bishop Robert J. Brennan's installation is next week. So how did he get here? Coming up, we'll take a look at the process of naming a bishop. Plus, Pope Francis has some advice for him and other bishops. We'll tell you what he had to say. And if you're flying for the Thanksgiving holiday, you'd better pack some patience, why you'll need to get to the airport even earlier than usual. The Bishop of Brooklyn, Nicholas DiMarzio, is saying goodbye to his flock as he prepares for his retirement on Tuesday. In this week's tablet, the bishop is sending his final message to the people in his Into the Deep column. He says serving the people of Brooklyn has been a blessing. As he looks back on his 18 years in Brooklyn, highlighting the ups and downs that he's led the diocese through, he gives us his final request: continue to put out into the deep and do not be afraid. You could read Bishop DiMarzio's words for yourself in the tablet. Just head over to your local church and pick up a copy. You can also have the paper sent directly to you. Go to thetablet.org to subscribe. And as Brooklyn says goodbye to Bishop DiMarzio, the diocese says hello to a new bishop, Robert J. Brennan. Be sure to keep up with Currents News and the tablet next week as we cover the installation of Bishop Brennan to the Diocese of Brooklyn. We'll have live coverage of his installation starting at 10:30 a.m. on November 30th. It kicks off with a press conference at the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph, followed by a documentary covering the life and legacy of Bishop DiMarzio. Bishop Brennan's installation mass airs at 1:30 p.m. Again, that's November 30th, starting at 10:30 a.m. right here on Net TV. While Bishop Brennan's installation is fast approaching, his journey here to Brooklyn was not something that happened overnight. The entire process of naming a new bishop can take months, even years. It all starts right in the local diocese and ends with a decision at the Vatican. We spoke with those in the know to find out what happens in between.
One does not become a bishop, one is chosen a bishop.
Auxiliary Bishop Emeritus of Brooklyn, Octavio Cisneros, has been at the receiving end of a similar process and was part of the process in choosing Brooklyn's newest bishop.
It's not a lot of steps, but see, involves a lot of people.
It starts with a meeting of the bishops in an ecclesiastical province. New York's 8 dioceses make up the Empire State's province. Each bishop in a province can nominate someone.
And why are you chosen? Because you're doing that which you were meant to do as a priest. Be a good priest. Do what you were ordained to do, and do it with love, do it with freedom, do it with a fidelity to the church and to the diocese and to the people you're ministering.
The bishops take a vote and send the top names to the Apostolic Nuncio, Christophe Pierre. This is the part of the process where a lot of the research is done. The nuncio gets information about the diocese from the current bishop. He also contacts priests, even lay people, to find out more about a nominee. He then narrows the list down to 3, which is called the Terna, and sends it to the USCCB for input. Then to Rome, to the Congregation of Bishops at the Vatican. Bishops and cardinals from around the world meet to vote on the candidates and put them in order of preference.
They look at the slots that are available and they say, well, it's almost like a chess game, who fits where? Who's got the talents that would be best used, whether in the state or outside the province?
Former editor of The Tablet, Ed Wilkinson, says the congregation does its due diligence.
They want to pick the right person. They want to find the person who has the right talents for the right resources for a particular diocese.
The names of the top 3 candidates are presented to the Pope, who makes the final decision.
It's the Holy Father. He may like all 3 names. He may like none of the names. He may add another name.
Whoever the Pope chooses is notified by the nuncio and asked if he will accept the appointment. Once accepted, an announcement is made, an ordination or installation is scheduled, and the excitement begins.
Oh, it's an exciting time. It's always exciting. And then when you get the new bishop and you want to get to learn more about him and you see him in action and you see his new style, it's going to be a very exciting time.
It certainly is an exciting time in the diocese. And while there are distinctions between the appointment of a priest as a bishop and a bishop's transfer to another diocese, the USCCB says the basic outlines of the process remain the same. Since Pope Francis has the final say in what bishop goes where, Justin McClellan takes a look back at the words of wisdom the Holy Father has given to prelates in the past.
As Bishop of Rome, Pope Francis has often spoken about how bishops can be better pastors to the communities they serve. While ordaining new bishops, the Pope stressed that the primary responsibility of a bishop is prayer.
Il primo compito del vescovo è pregare, e non come un pappagallo, no, pregare col cuore. Pregare, non ho tempo, no, togli le altre cose, ma pregare. È il primo compito del vescovo.
In an address to the presidents of the European Bishops' Conference, Pope Francis explained that the aim of bishops should be to live out the gospel and not to advance in the church's hierarchy.
Può essere anche il nostro problema. Concentrarsi sulle varie posizioni nella Chiesa, su dibattiti, agende, strategia e perdere di vista il vero programma, quello del Vangelo. Lo slancio della carità, l'ardore della gratuità.
The Pope urged bishops from South Korea to avoid falling into a comfortable Catholicism, but rather to embrace the zeal of the martyrs who came before them.
Il demonio è furbo, dicevo, e mi farà questa proposta. Il benessere religioso, ma siamo buoni cattolici, ma fino a qui, e vi toglierà la forza. Non dimenticatevi, per favore, siete figli di martiri e lo zelo apostolico non si può negoziare.
Above all, he reminds bishops to remember that their position is not one of privilege, but of service.
Non si è vescovi, sacerdoti o diacono perché si è più intelligenti, più bravi e migliori degli altri, ma solo in forza di un dono d'amore elargito da Dio nella potenza del suo spirito per il bene del suo popolo.
Almost 30 years after being first ordained a bishop, Pope Francis has ample experience of what it means to be a pastor to the people.
That was Justin McClellan reporting. Pope Francis's guidance for bishops is ongoing to this day. Just this past week, the Holy Father held a closed-door meeting with Italian bishops where he gave them a list to follow called the Beatitudes of a Bishop. Still to come on Currents News, get your tissues out. Happy tears for this emotional homecoming. We'll hear from the families of these soldiers. And are you heading to the Thanksgiving Day parade? If not, just sit tight. We'll take you there while taking you back in time. More than 50 million of us are traveling for Thanksgiving, and if you think that's a recipe for trouble, be forewarned if you're one of those taking to the skies. The lines at the TSA could be even longer than ever. That's because the agency has brand new safety protocols in place just in time for the holidays. Agents are adhering to new post-pandemic measures meant to keep you safe.
They're going to be wearing gloves, and they're going to be changing their gloves between every pat-down. You can always ask the TSA officer to change their gloves if you're uncomfortable with the gloves they have on, and they will change their gloves for you.
There is some good news. The TSA is easing up on hand sanitizer. You can take one 12-ounce bottle, but just hand sanitizer. Don't go crazy and pack more than 3 ounces of shampoo in your carry-on. It was an emotional morning on Tuesday after a group of 150 Iowa National Guard soldiers returned home for the holiday. Cynthia Fodor is in Des Moines and spoke with some of the soldiers and their families as they reunited.
Waiting is the hardest part. The National Guard soldiers march in formation, scanning faces to find families, happy to have their boots on the ground back home. Jessica Dewey held on to her baby boy, meeting his dad for the very first time.
And he has not seen his father until this moment.
No, this is the first time.
And what's going through your mind?
A lot of emotions.
You've been waiting for this day, I imagine.
Oh, yes.
Finally, they are free to find the arms they've been waiting for. A long kiss after a long time apart. Jeffrey Bennett hasn't seen his adorable twin daughters since they were 2 months old.
It's almost like I'm a father again for the first time, so it's definitely going to take some time getting used to, that's for sure.
And mothers relieved.
That's very heavy. I can't believe he carries it.
To take the heavy load off their son's back.
I'm overwhelmed. He's home finally. I'm just, it's the most amazing thing.
How hard was the deployment?
A lot harder than I expected it to be, that's for sure. Luckily, I had a really strong lady back home holding the fort down for me, so she did awesome while I was gone.
This is great. People really need to honor these men and women. I don't think we do it enough, but not just because I'm mom, just because it's just so overwhelming.
Those videos never get old. That was Cynthia Fodor reporting. The company's job was to take care of military equipment throughout the Middle East, from Afghanistan to Saudi Arabia. Now they're looking forward to taking care of their families in Iowa. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. And from all of us at Currents News, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. We leave you with a look back at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade through the years. Hope to see you again next time.